Honourable Member from Mermaid Stratford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are many reasons to encourage active transportation, and they are all deeply interrelated. Ultimately, the many benefits of active transportation combine to lower our collective carbon footprint and create a better quality of life for all islanders. In 2012, the PEI Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, the City of Charlottetown, the Town of Stratford, the Town of Cornwall collectively released a report detailing a regional active transportation plan for the greater Charlottetown area. This made recommendations to develop pedestrian and cycling facilities that will connect major activity hubs throughout Charlottetown, Stratford, and Cornwall. A question to the Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy. What work has been completed in the 7 years since this report came out to address its recommendations?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I was appointed Minister of Transportation in 2019, which is this year. We've done a number of things through the department where we're not looking at just Charlottetown and active transportation, we're looking at island-wide. Last week, as you recall, I announced new active transportation fund where we are currently meeting with stakeholders and people of interest inside the active transportation realm, getting their advice, getting their thoughts, getting them to put forward what they think we should be doing as we bring this forward to island communities. So what we are doing going forward is creating an active transportation system right across Prince Edward Island, including rural areas, and I think it's something that is going to help tourism, help rural communities, and I think it's something that at the end of the day everybody should be proud of. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from Mermaid Stratford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do find it interesting when we have reports. Somehow those reports seem to be put on the shelves, and recommendations that are alive in those reports seem to be forgotten. So in 2017, a commitment by the government was made to add a bike lane to the Hillsborough Bridge at the same time as the sewer renovations were done. This commitment was made after a petition created by the late Josh Underhay. He tabled a petition with the legislature that included 316 signatures of individuals who urged the province to create a safe bike lane on the Hillsborough Bridge. A question to the Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy. Can you explain why the promised bike lane was not included in the Hillsborough Bridge renovations that are currently underway?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I was the Minister in 2017. I became the Minister in 2019 when we formed government, also in 2019. And when I came forward, there was no money put forward in the capital budget by the previous government to do that project during this period or any period other than 2023, and that's when it appears in the budget. But I'm happy that you brought it up because we are, as I said before, we have a new active transportation fund where we're looking at all kinds of projects and how we would fund them right across Prince Edward Island. That I'm sure will make the list, though it hasn't been recommended by anyone we met with so far. I know there's a group in Charlottetown who wants to meet with us, and I'm sure that that's going to be the number one priority for them for their ask. So at the end of the day, when we go public with our document, which I said we were going to do, we're going to follow the proper channels and consult with the public through all this. We will have all different kinds of options on how we're adding active transportation links right across Prince Edward Island. I'm sure the Hillsborough Bridge will be included in it as it's slated to be built in 2023. Thank you.
The Honourable Member from Mermaid Stratford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This specific bike lane was and is a major issue raised by Stratford constituents. A question to the Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy. The recommendations are in place. The constituents are asking for this addition to the Hillsborough Bridge. So why is it not a priority for your department?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy.
I think it's going pretty. You're stretching it pretty wildly to say it's not a priority of the department. I said the money was there in 2023. But let me say, in order to put a bike lane on the side of the bridge, the plan, as it currently stands, is to shift all 4 lanes of the traffic over in one side of the bridge, which will require an engineering review of the entire bridge, of the entire run-up on each side of the bridge to ensure that traffic that's on this, that's not going to make the bridge topple into the Hillsborough Bridge or Hillsborough River, effectively cutting off the whole eastern end of the island. So I want to make sure that we're safe and we don't go wildly forward with something that's going to that's going to be detrimental to one of our major pieces of infrastructure. So we are at this point studying that. This is all part of a process. I don't know why you're trying to jump the line from the process that I outlined a week ago, where I said we're going to consult all islanders. We're going to ask all islanders what they want. We're going to put a project forward that all islanders are going to to be able to benefit from. I don't know why you want to get ahead of the line, why you can't follow the same process that every other islander is going to follow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Stratford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd just like to come back to a comment from the Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy, in which he suggested that I wanted to jump the line, which is a priceless comment coming from a minister who jumped the line and overspent by $17 million without having special warrants. So, question to the minister. Do you think, and I'm just going to test the math because we have actually heard some math skills here from this minister, and I would just like to test out this math as I go. So in 2012, there was a report, as I mentioned, that the Department of Transportation and 3 of our municipalities had gone through. That was in 2012, so 7 years ago. And now the minister is saying that the funding for the active transportation corridor for the Hillsborough Bridge is in 2023, another 4 years from now. So question to the Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy. Do you think that an additional 4-year wait, a total of 11 years since the publication of the original report and recommendations, is appropriate for this addition to the Hillsborough Bridge?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I'll continue to entertain the member while she tries to jump the line. And what I will say is, number one, she talks about 2012. Then she talks about 2015. Then she talks about 2017. Then she talks about a capital budget that I inherited that was passed in 2018. None of which ever I was the minister for, none of which did I have any input into. And when I inherited, the budget I had inherited, besides the fact that it was half spent, was a budget that had the Hillsborough Bridge active transportation link in 2023. Though I will say, there's a lot of work to be done to get ready for it. I have already met with the City of Charlottetown to talk to them about what they have to do in order to link it together. I'm preparing to meet with the town of Stratford to talk about what they have to do in order to link it together. In jurisdictions in Europe where active transportation has been successful, they've created transportation pods or in their communities. The times when they did these big projects to link them together was when both sides had a system that was actually worth linking together. That's where I want to work together with the City of Charlottetown and the town of Stratford to do that. But let me go back to the $5 million pot of money that we have, that we're planning for now, that we plan to meet with the public with. We will meet with the City of Charlottetown, we will meet with the town of Stratford, we'll meet with anybody who has interest in active transportation links to Prince Edward Island. Put their priorities down on paper, we'll take them to the public, we'll see what the public has to say, and we'll report back to the legislature. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member from Stratford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So several much larger and more costly highway infrastructure projects have been completed which do not have such a positive impact on the climate or the quality of life of many islanders. So I will go back and I will just say, I'm referencing the 2012 report because I think it's important that we don't just shelf reports whenever we change a government. I'm referencing 2017 because when you make a promise to islanders, you just don't shelf that because you change a government. Continuity within government is something that islanders require. It's all about efficiencies that we actually can continue moving forward. In fact, the minister recently overspent $17 million and asked Executive Council to cover it in a special warrant after he spent it, I might add. So a question to the Minister of Transportation. Can you honestly tell me that your department has done absolutely no work on an active transportation corridor for the Hillsborough Bridge to this point?
The Honourable Minister of Transportation, Infrastructure and Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I've already told you in this question period that we have. I've already said that in the design, it requires all the lanes to be shifted over to one side. And by doing that, we want to do an impact assessment to make sure that by shifting all that weight over to one side of the bridge, that we don't have a negative impact on the piece of infrastructure that connects all of eastern Prince Edward Island, where I live, where people travel every single day to come to Charlottetown to work, that it doesn't get damaged, so that we would have no way to get to Charlottetown anymore to work. So yes, they have done all kinds of work. There is a plan. You're more than welcome to see it. It's in the design phase. There's actually 2 or 3 different options that have been presented. They haven't been chosen yet, but we're going to go through the steps properly. I'm not going to let somebody jump the line into spending money in an active transportation fund out of a question period set. We're going to do things properly. We're going to go through the proper channels. I respect the work of the staff in my department, the work they've done to date. I put my faith in them, and I will continue to put my faith in them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.